You know, I went to Austin on a site visit in late February, and there's one piece of advice I'd like to give Kevin. Never miss an opportunity to ask your driver from the airport about your community that you're visiting. It's a wonderful experience. They're a font of frank knowledge, and they can give you a perspective from the lens of the community like no other. I'm sure many of you do that. They'll give you their frank opinion, and sometimes you can agree with it or you can leave it alone. But you know, in 40 minutes from the drive from the airport to my hotel, I had some of the most incredible personal facts and figures given by the driver. And at this point, I'd like to give you a bit of an impression of what that was like. Welcome. Welcome to the home of Willie Nelson, Lance Armstrong, Kevin Costner, and Sandra Bullock. By the way, have you been to Bullock's restaurant Bess yet? You gotta go. It's a great restaurant. And the ancestral home of O. Henry? Well, you know, some of the Go-Go's and Dixie Chicks run around town as well every once in a while. And you know, George Bush was the governor here from 95 to 2000 before he became president. Did you know that? And this is where they laid out Lyndon Baines Johnson. They laid him here in state at the Headliners Club. You know, after he passed away, they laid him in that Headliners Club. Oh, by the way, that's where you're going to get your buffet tonight. And so Austin is a city in the South. Yet, you know, it feels really interesting. It's got 4 seasons. The trees actually lose their leaves. And while you're looking out on the river, you see this palm tree out there at the same time. And you know, it's a great town, but it's very car dominated. Although I did see one rapid transit go past me during my visit. Now, during that time, you guys were in fact analyzing whether or not to extend your transit. And the interesting thing wasn't the transit issue, it was how they were going about it. They were looking at their costs and benefits through this incredible computer that they have in the community to look at and weigh the costs and benefits of doing all these different things. And I'm sure you'll hear from Kevin what that opportunity is. You know, it's a very fiscally conservative community, and everything gets weighed, I think, from that cost-benefit analysis perspective, and that's one of the reasons they're one of the most incredibly successful economic development powerhouses. Yes, Austin is fiscally conservative, yet very liberal in other senses. Yep, we're the blueberry in the sea of red tomatoes. Y'all will hear that many times over from the locals, and proud of it too. And you ever hear, keep it weird in Austin? That's us, because we got to be different from the rest of the folks. Wouldn't have it any other way. It's the reason I came to Atlanta here 20 years ago and stayed. The rest of the state of Texas, it's very conservative. But Austin has always been liberal and attracts our kind of folk. You know, we drive down Congress Avenue, and it's the main boulevard going down into the city center, and it's like a lot of thriving U.S. cities now. Robust, but yet still in transition. You know, the hole in the donut still exists in many cities, but here's a city that is beginning to thrive in its core. Some high-rise condos, but empty parking lots there with some barbecue and hickory-smelling stalls. It is a city of new high-rises that are being built to deal with demand. Demand coming from the young, successful entrepreneurs who are able to demand living in an urban environment. But, as I said, mixed in with these shiny new buildings is lots of barbecue stalls. And the smell of hickory, smoke in your nose, it just wants you to have your next meal, I'm sure. And walking down a place like 6th Street, seedy bars, but it's a magnet for music lovers. And they're in search of jazz, country, rock and roll, all fusing in a mixture of sounds on the street that you've not heard before. It was very interesting walking from one restaurant to another. Names like Blind Pig, Coyote Ugly, yes, like the movie, and the Alamo. Incredible place. Yes, sir, this is the center of music and interactive digital world. During spring break in March, we are able to get the university folks to come out and help with South by Southwest. Hundreds of thousands of visitors, artists, and producers will be here in the middle of March, just in time to welcome the Bats to Austin. That's a thing that you'll have to explain. Lots of students from the University of Texas, they volunteer at South by Southwest, and lots of innovation occurs there. It's not just about music, it's about innovation, it's about film. Oh, by the way, did you know that Twitter was launched here? And Bruce Springsteen, he's the headliner this year. By the way, anything else you want to know, don't hesitate to ask. Here's your hotel, sir. Welcome to Austin. So the flavor of Austin is truly blueberry, surrounded by a sea of tomato sauce. In my 2 days there, I was immersed in a program as eclectic as understanding a community that really knows how to collaborate, but also understands the politics, has a really urban landscape, but also a very interesting history, and sprinkled with some local characters. I'd like to talk about a guy named Pike Powers. We'll do that when we talk. But I also learned that Austin is tech savvy and a highly collaborative community with people that are smart, that use smart technologies, and an entire ecosystem nurturing and attracting and keeping the students from the university in town. It's a community of broadband, knowledge work, innovation, digital inclusion, and advocacy, all reinforcing each other and fostering a special place that somehow is surrounded by a sea of red. So, can we actually see this video that's called The City of Austin? Randall.
I get asked all the time, what about Austin makes it such a special place? Why has our economy fared so much better than many of our peer cities? What's the secret? Well, the truth is, I wish city government could claim all of the responsibility, but it's much more than that. It's a spirit of partnership and cooperation among the entire community that's at the very core of our mission to be the best managed city in America. It's an example of a place where the whole is truly greater than the sum of its parts. So, what is it about Austin? Take a look.
Austin is global. It's a city that has carved out an international reputation for innovation, leading the next generation of digital innovation, exporting both products and ideas for the world, all while maintaining its Texas charm and sensibility. Austin is innovation. With 8 colleges and universities, to one of the top research universities in the country at UT Austin, incubating new ideas and accelerating innovations into marketable products, harnessing the powerful convergence of art and technology, clearing the way for ideas that can change our lives, and doing it with a Texan spirit of independence and adventure. Austin is creativity, staying in tune with its musical and creative roots, staking out its claim as the creative crossroads between East and West, North and South, making art accessible and nurturing creative minds in success, standing out as one of the leaders in the new economy of the creative class, with a soundtrack that is uniquely Austin. Austin is clean, and Austin is green. Austin is a leader in clean energy generation, a community that values and protects its natural beauty and resources, that partners with local business and industry to develop cost-effective green solutions and builds relationships that help those industries grow in sustainable ways. Austin is a leader, setting new standards for what the 21st century communities strive to be. Investing in the small businesses that feed communities that are the backbone of this country. Providing the knowledge workers critical to the new economy. Attracting businesses and drawing investments from some of the biggest innovators in the world. And making sure we're having some fun along the way. Austin is home. People choose to live in Austin. People choose to do business in Austin. It's a place where folks from all walks of life can thrive and succeed. Where neighbors and neighborhoods are partners in community building. And where sustainability isn't just a buzzword, it's a way of life. In Austin, you're only limited by your imagination.
So, come see for yourself why Austin is such a unique and special place. Whether you're looking for a place to do business or a place to visit for a few days, I think you'll quickly learn why I consider it to be a blessing to be city manager in such a dynamic community. See you soon.
Austin was, in fact, also the first city that I had a chance to visit this year.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so it was very interesting. It was a very cold winter up north, although it was probably warmer than we've had for quite a long time, but it was wonderful to get to your climate. It's a very, very nice climate, all year round probably, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those neat southern cities that has 4 seasons. And now we had that long hot spell. We had those 2 months of 100 degrees weather. That was a scorcher. But then everybody got those really big sombreros and cowboy hats, so kind of worked out okay.
And I mentioned bats. So since we're on the seasons, what does the bats mean?
Yeah, so I guess you know, we'll talk about good stuff in Austin. There is a bat colony of 3 million bats that they just showed up in Austin one day. And they all went into this bridge that crosses the Colorado River. I don't know if you could see from the video, but the river's been dammed in 7 locations to create this network of lakes through the city. And so there's this historic dam, and 3 million bats went into it. And the city couldn't figure out what to do. They didn't know whether they were pests or what they were up to. But they kind of just decided to embrace it. And it's become a tourist attraction. And you know, when people visit your city, especially diplomats, you'll give them some kind of a gift. Well, we give those snow globes, but when you turn it upside down, it doesn't have snow, it has bats raining. But it's really quite fascinating. People line up about 7 to 8 o'clock every night, mostly in the summer, but they just line up on the bridge and everybody comes down to the river, and slowly it looks like a black cloud starts snaking through the sky. And they eat all the mosquitoes and they don't bother anybody. They're pretty cool.
So the way it was explained to me was there was a renovation on the bridge, and the architect had put in some kind of a
expansion joints,
and somehow, you know, there must have been a pioneer bat flying around from somewhere, and
an innovative bat.
Innovative bat. And so you were able to attract and retain these bats. You know, it's part of our lexicon here.
Yeah,
you know?
There you go.
Okay, so we have some standard questions. We'll get those out of the way, and then we'll have a regular conversation. How's that?
That's super.
One of the first things we always ask about is, you know, the sense of renewal. A lot of cities come from somewhere, and all of a sudden they've become a smart community, an intelligent city, for a reason. And oftentimes it has something to do with a crisis. Was there one in your community?
Well, You know, I don't know if it just evolved rather than it being a crisis. I think every city has kind of a series of crises. A lot of people talk in Austin about the dot-com bust. When the dot-com bust happened, Austin was hit pretty hard simply because they were already very smart and they had all these companies that were created. And so in 2004, if I was going to use that as the benchmark, the city realized that they were not a balanced city, that they were dependent only on this particular industry segment. So what they did is they put together something called Opportunity Austin. It's this futuristic public-private partnership where you get a strategic plan put together to try and capture all of these weak trends in the economy and turn them into something meaningful for your city. And the city invested with all the major corporations and had a target of creating 70,000 jobs, diversifying the economy into these discrete trends. And we caught like about 5 of them. And so we created 124 to 140,000 jobs rather than the 70, so we did twice as good. So that was Opportunity Austin 1.0. We're now on Opportunity Austin 2.0. And we've updated this plan. And we look at lessons learned around the world, best practices around the world. We use interactive media with citizens to ask them what they think. So I think probably that crisis might have been part of it. It also forced the city, interestingly, to reinvent itself as a government. So for the first time in 2004, the city took everything that made the city money, everything that generated taxes or jobs, and they put it all in one department called the Department of, oh, that's my department, Economic Growth and Redevelopment Services. So they put all the cultural arts organizations and everything that generates creatives in one place, and those are about $6 million, 250 grants, performance-based grants that are given every year to art and music organizations, and we train them in merchandising and in tourism. And then we have a redevelopment portfolio of $9 billion, international division that hosts 125 consular visits. We've got a virtual consular corps. We're developing an inland port. A music division. Music is big business in Austin. We've got tens of thousands of musicians. We have a music foundation, and we pay for health care through that of aging musicians and ask them to teach in the schools. We've got a wonderful small business division, our largest one, that was created during that time, and they've won the Harvard Ash Award and 2 international awards last year as the best serving innovators and best for fixing up blighted inner city commercial areas. And then we've got the Economic Development Division, which set up an Emerging Technologies Division to foster all of the incubators at the university. So he just asked me what time it was. I told him how to build a clock. I apologize. But
no, it's great. It's great stuff that you've got going. But the interesting thing is you didn't have an economic development department up until that point.
Well, that's true. So this is like this super team of 50 that bring everything together that generates taxes and jobs and tries to integrate them. So for the first time, I think you all know that the cultural arts, gaming, digital, those are all part of the creative industries. A lot of times those are independently set up and funded.
Well, there are lots of communities out there that don't have fulsome economic development organizations for their area. So yours would be a good model to take a look at.
Well, we kind of consider it an economic vitality model. There's 2 others in North America that we know about that are similar.
Good. Well, one of the other things is talk a little bit about your infrastructure. Talk about what's going on in your broadband as well as the rest of the infrastructure that you've got going in your community. Well,
Austin is we think America's Wi-Fi hub, that it is the most wireless place in America. It's penetration, the broadband penetration is at 100%, so we know that ranks pretty much #1. but the access to it ranks about number 3. We've got 4 major corporations, 2 big headquarters and 2 big manufacturing companies that are in that field. Samsung, as you saw, has invested $9 billion in the city, but we've got Apple, Facebook, eBay. Everybody uses wireless, and so we have a finite, we've measured the number of people who are on the digital divide who do not have it. It's a small but important number. And so we've kind of crossed, we know what the problem is, and we're moving from just trying to connect people to computers and to access, and moving it into trying to find them jobs that are a fit with the skills that we've programmed into the economy.
Great. So part of having a great infrastructure is also going to attract people to come to your community. But the group that you really want to keep in your community are some of the great people who go to your university.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your university and what are some of the strategies about keeping those students in your community?
At any one time, there's 100,000 students in Austin. The University of Texas has 50,000 by mandate. It can't have more, but the other universities are such that the cross-pollination of them is just unbelievable. People would prefer, the students, they would prefer to stay in Austin for less money just so they can have their ideas appreciated. I don't know whether it's the music or it's the culture or the arts, but we don't have to work very hard to keep people there.
Well, in fact, strategically, South by Southwest happens during your March break or other people's March breaks, partly because they can take advantage of all of the students who are the volunteers at South by Southwest.
Yeah. And I think that all the students, they look around and they go, okay, 2 students formed Whole Foods with a great idea, and now it's global. Michael Dell, a student, founded Dell and has 14,000 employees. Bizarre Voice, which has just exploded on the scene, had a handful of students and they set up their own companies. And so I think that just the kind of feel for people in Austin is if they stay there, they can be very prosperous and their ideas will be realized. So they seem to just want to kind of stay there and invent things.
Well, it's not surprising then that your community doubles in size every 20 years.
Well, we could use a little slower growth.
Okay. Well, you can use some transit and you can use some other things there as well.
That's
By the way,
right.
what happened in that analysis?
Well, we're working on it.
Okay. You've got a fast computer, but you're still working on it.
Yeah. Well, it's the process of gathering big data that's
right.
the challenge. We're the first, as you may have recalled, we're the first city in America, or in the world, we think, that's using supercomputers to organize the city's economic growth. And we're doing that by taking, hopefully thousands, but at least to start with, a lot of different variables. How many jobs are created, how much taxes are paid, how much infrastructure is not built, how much affordable housing can you get into a project, how much of the environment you can protect. And we're programming it into this supercomputer called Stampede. And you know what gigabots are? Well, this thing runs on something called petaflops. And it usually does very big calculations for the movement of planets. But what we're using it for is to evaluate alternative investments, alternative futures for the alignment of the train system, where to put the transit villages, based upon how much they'll generate back into the community. We've taken 5 case studies already. The idea is that instead of transit-oriented development, we're looking at development-oriented transit. We're trying to get the development community to pony up the investment, and then we'll say, if you do that, then we'll put the train station there. And we found that one alignment would generate a minimum of 6,000 new jobs and $10 million towards the ongoing operating budget of the city. But we've still got a lot more work to do. By September, we should have a good picture.
But you have a real solid foundation of public-private involvement in your community. How do you engage all those people in the collaborative form?
Well, it's, the engagement process is kind of built into everything that Austin does. The citizens demand it, the government wants it, the businesses want to make sure it's paid for right. So we have, for example, the Pecan Street project. It started with a $10 million investment from the feds, but it's like you've heard here that is going on in Ula, and it's going on in several other communities where we have public and private organizations working to calculate energy demand in this new town that's being built within the city. It's an urban village built on our old airport. And it calculates energy consumption every 30 seconds to then funnel to the Austin Energy so they can make adjustments. And also it shows the citizens how to save money. This is one major public-private partnerships. South by Southwest, the new F1 race. We had, last year, we took a big part of our downtown. We just completed regenerating 2nd Street, where you stayed. And that won an award from the International Economic Development Council, the world's best public-private partnership.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's just kind of built in because everybody wants to do it together.
So you're a leader in the community. Your mayor's a leader. Of course, you're a CAO from the city as well. But I noticed there were also people from the chamber that were involved with Opportunity Austin. But there's a gentleman that kept popping up, Pike Powers, and he was the last person I had a chance to meet. Do you have any observations about leadership in a community and volunteerism and the kind of individuals like that become a magnet for moving things forward?
Yeah. First, let me say Pike Powers. He's got a name like a superhero. Doesn't it sound like Pike Powers? He is a visionary who puts like 1,000% of his energy into a big project or a big idea. His big project now is to make Austin the world center for supercomputers. So he is the chairman of the University of Texas Supercomputer Association called TAC, and just finagled $58 million from the federal government to build the second or first largest supercomputer. But about in the 70s, he pioneered the Semitech Coalition. Yeah. And it brought together, he had this vision of bringing all the semiconductor industry organizations to one place and to incentivize them, and he did it. It was really, there are people like Pike that are popping up everywhere. We've got a real neat group of leaders that is putting together the planetarium, a futuristic planetarium. And then we've got others that are building this super medical school. It's a community with a lot of energy, and they want to use technology to do it, but they don't have second thoughts about it. They just start using social media to market everybody.
So you've heard the term keep Austin weird. And this concept of blueberry surrounded by a sea of red tomatoes. What's that all about?
Well, you know, I try to stay out of politics. Austin loves to think out of the box. If you put several 100,000 really smart people, you know, with college experience, with great ideas that have stayed there to invent things, they really, you know, they want to think outside the box. They want their voices to be heard. Austin is like this huge cacophony of people speaking. And, you know, there's a lot of places where that's just not, you know, as much fun.
Well, Texas is a great place. Austin is certainly a lot of fun.
It sure is.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was good.
Thank you.